Welcome back to educator.com. For the next lesson, we're going to be solving division equations. So just like the other equations that we were solving in the previous lessons, we're going to use inverse operations to get the variable by itself. So the whole point of solving equations is to solve for the variable. What does the variable equal? Okay, what's the value of the variable? And for this one, the inverse operation of division is multiplication. So the opposite of division is multiplication. Okay, so again, we're just going to solve for the variable just using mental math. That means 3 equals a number divided by 2. And don't forget, right here, this fraction also means divide. So it's the top number divided by the bottom number. Okay? So a divided by 2 is 3. What is a? What number, if you divide it by 2, is going to give you 3? And I know that 6 divided by 2 is 3. So again, instead of writing just 6, you have to write that the variable a is equal to 6. Okay? And same thing here. So a number divided by 3 is going to give you 5. So 15 divided by 3 is 5. That means the variable d is equal to 15. A number divided by 4 is 4. Okay, so 16 divided by 4 is 4. That means I have to make b equal to 16. And then 100 divided by a number is going to give you 10. So what is k? K has to be 10 because 100 divided by 10 is 10. Okay, so now for these examples, we're going to solve for the variable using the inverse operation. So I'm going to circle the variable, just like I did for my other lessons, and then separate the sides. Now again, this is m divided by 4. Now if I have a number on the bottom, and if I multiply this by 4, a positive 4 is the same thing as 4 over 1. Okay, so 4, same thing as 4 over 1. I could put 1 under any number. If I need to turn this into a fraction, I can put a 1 under it. Okay, so 4 divided by 1, what's 4 divided by 1? Isn't that 4? Remember, this also means divide. So 4 divided by 1 is 4, right? So if it helps, you can put it over 1. And then if you remember to multiply fractions, this is m times 4, which is m times 4, or you can write 4m. Remember, if you have a number times a variable, you can just write it together like that. Over, and then this number times 1, which is 4. Now, if you have the same number on top as the bottom, they will become 1, right? 4 divided by 4 is 1. So that's why the inverse operation, if this is m divided by 4, the opposite of divide is multiply. So if I want to get rid of this 4 down here, then I have to multiply the 4. Okay, again, I'm using the inverse operation. And just in the same way, okay, this 4 is on this side this time, but it's the same thing. 4 over 1, or you can leave it as 4, or you can put it over 1, times m over 4. Remember, this becomes that same exact thing, 4m over 4, because this times this is that. 1 times 4 is 4. So 4 over 4, makes a 1. This is 1m. And if you remember, 1m is the same thing as m. So here, inverse operation of divide is to multiply. If you multiply when it's divided from the variable, they will cancel out. It'll go away. Okay, just if you don't understand this, what I did here, just know that if you have to divide, or if this is divided, m divided by 4, then you have to multiply it so that it'll go away. Again, whatever I do to one side of the equal sign, I have to do to the other side. So since I multiplied 4 to this side, I have to multiply 4 to this side, right? And you can write it like this for now, okay? Or the best way to show that you're going to multiply two numbers is to write them in parentheses. Now what's left on the left side? This side, all I have left is the m, which is what I want, right? I wanted to get rid of this 4, that's why I multiplied it. Equals negative 3 times 4. Remember, I have a negative times a positive. Whenever you're multiplying or dividing, if you only have one negative sign, your answer becomes a negative. And you're going to multiply these two numbers just the same way. So 3 times 4 is 12. And it's a negative 12 because I only see one negative sign. Remember, one negative, your answer becomes a negative. If you are multiplying two negative numbers, then those negative numbers pair up to become a positive or a plus. Okay, so then this is m equals negative 12. I have the variable by itself, so I'm done. I solved the equation. Okay, again, next one. I'm going to circle the variable. That's my goal, to make the variable by itself. I'm going to separate the two sides like that. This is a divided by 7. If it's a divided by 7, the inverse operation is multiply. So I have to multiply this whole side by 7. That these will cross cancel and they'll become a 1. Whatever I do to one side, I have to do to the other side. 7 times 6 is 42. So on my left side, I get 42. Then my equals. Then on my right side, I have only a left. Because remember, I got rid of that 7. Okay, so once I have the variable by itself and I have the number, I am done, and that is my answer. Okay, so the third one, I'm going to use a different color. Solve for b. Again, this is b divided by negative 3. Now, it's divided by negative 3. I still have to get rid of this whole number right here. So, inverse operation, multiply this by negative 3, so that way these will cancel out. Whatever I do to one side, I have to do to the other side. So I have to multiply this by negative 3. Then on this side, I only have a b left, equals my right side. I have to solve this out. 10 times negative 3. Well, 10 times 3 is 30. How many negative signs do I see? I only see 1. Okay, that means my answer is going to be negative. So b equals negative 30. And then this last one, again, solve for x. I'm going to circle it, separate my sides. X divided by 5, inverse operation is to multiply. So multiply this side. That way that number will go away. Then whatever I do to one side, I have to do to the other side. What's left on this side? X is left, right? And then equals 8 times 5 is 40. I only have one negative sign. That means my answer is going to be negative. And that's it. That's my answer. So for these, we're going to determine if negative 6 is the solution of the equation. So here's my variable. I want to know if negative 6 can be m, or if m can be negative 6. So negative 6 divided by 2. Is that 3? Negative 6, and I'm going to replace, I'm going to write it instead of m, right, because I'm trying to see if m is going to be that number. So okay, I'm just going to substitute it in. Equals 3. Is this true? Well, I know that 6 divided by 2 is 3, but is negative 6 divided by 2 3? No, because when you have a negative divided by a positive, you only see one negative. That makes the answer a negative. So in this case, this is no or false. So this one, I'm just going to write no. The next one, here's my variable. So 6 over, in place of the variable, negative 6. Well, I know that 6 divided by 6 is 1. So 6 divided by negative 6, negative 1. Well, only one negative sign when you're dividing numbers. So that makes this negative. So this one is, yes, this one is true. And then here, negative 18 equals negative 6 over 4. Well, does negative 6 divided by 4 equal a negative 18? No. So this one is no. Okay, so let's solve each equation. We're going to use the inverse operations to solve each of the equations. The first one, okay, I'm going to circle my variable. I'm going to separate my sides. Now, be careful here. This is a plus 11. What is being used? A plus, right? What's the inverse operation of plus again? Inverse operation of plus is minus, right? The inverse operation of minus is plus, right? What about times? What's the inverse operation of times? Divide, and the inverse operation of divide is times. So since this is a plus 11, and I know I have to get the variable by itself, I have to get rid of everything that's next to the variable. I have to use the inverse operation of plus, which is minus. So that means I have to subtract this number, 11, because positive 10 minus 11, that makes 0, that goes away. Whatever I do to one side, I do to the other. So negative 4 minus 11. Okay, be careful here. Remember, we're not multiplying and we're not dividing. So even though you see two negative signs, doesn't make it go away. Only when you multiply or divide. When it comes to adding and subtracting, you can think of dogs and cats. You could think of money. Okay, so it's like saying, well, you borrowed $4 and then you borrowed another $11. Whenever you see a negative, you're borrowing. So you borrow 4, you borrow 11. How much do you owe? You owe 15, right? And that's a negative because you still owe. Whenever you don't have something, it's a negative. Bring down that equal sign. And then on this side, what's left? Only the variable, because whatever was here, we got rid of, right? That number that was there. So this is it. This is the answer. The whole point, the goal is to get the variable by itself. And the next one, circle the variable, separate my sides. This is n minus 8. I know I have to get rid of this number because it's next to the variable. So inverse operation of minus is plus. That means to get rid of this negative 8, I have to add 8 to make it go away. So the variable can be by itself. Then whatever you do to one side, you have to do to the other side. That's the right side. Okay, and then, so only the variable is left, equals this side, the right side, 28. 20 plus 8 is 28. So that's my answer, n equals 28. Okay, solving for my variable v, separate my sides. Here, this is 9 times v, right? If they're stuck together like that, that's a time. So 9 times v equals negative 81. So since it's multiplied together, I have to use my inverse operation, which is divide. I have to divide the 9 to get rid of it, so that the variable can be by itself. And then same thing, whatever you do to one side, you have to do to the other side. So if you did it to the left side, then you have to do it to the right side. So then from here, this is left with v. Bring down the equal sign. Then 81 divided by 9. Don't forget that this is divide, right? 81 divided by 9 is 9. But then you have a negative. So the negative divided by a positive, you only see one negative. So in this case, only when you multiply or divide, remember, you're dividing now, so then one negative gives you a negative answer. And then that is my answer. That's it. In the last one, d divided by negative 12 equals 3. So I'm going to circle my variable, separate my sides, and this is d divided by negative 12. The inverse operation of divide is multiply. So to get rid of this number here, okay, because again we need d to be by itself, I need to multiply this number. Make sure you divide the negative 12. The number is negative 12. So you're multiplying negative 12. That cross cancels out. Whatever you do to one side, remember you have to do to the other side. So 3 times negative 12. And again, the best way to write two numbers being multiplied is to write it in parentheses. And then, I can write that in parentheses too. So on this side, on my left side, I have d left by itself equals, and then the right side, it's 3 times negative 12. So first 3 times 12 is 36. Okay, remember the number stays the same. I have only one negative sign. So that makes this, because it's multiplied. So d is negative 36. Okay, and that's it for this lesson. Thank you for watching Educator.com.